Maj A K Singh. It was sometime in the middle of August 1986, I think 11th, 12th, 13th of August. In the middle of the Tasman Sea between New Zealand and Australia, a most horrendous storm, the worst storm to hit that part of the world in about a century, was raging all around. There was a tiny boat about 36 and a half feet long, about 12 meters, that had sailed out from Auckland for Sydney. It was battling the storm in the near sub-zero temperatures with the wind chill factor thrown in. The Trishna, the name of the boat, Trishna of India, had set out to sail around the world almost a year and a few months earlier. The crew were battened down into the body of the boat, keeping an anxious observation of the storm outside, raging outside. 2 crew members would be on watch at any one time on deck, called the anchor watch, to see that if any eventuality like dismasting or a capsize or a bash into the hull takes place, they are able to try to do something under the conditions. Because as we say in ocean yachting, the boat lives, you live. Sounds quite elementary. There's another old adage amongst yachtsmen. We say, good boats outlive good men. The crew on deck, called the anchor watch, they are in storm suits to keep out the severe cold, lashed to the boat by lifelines to prevent them from being washed overboard by the huge seas which are now and again washing over the boat periodically. They are battling hypothermia. They are crouching into a corner of the cockpit to take what little protection they can that's offered by the awning from the huge waves breaking on deck. There I was in one corner of the cockpit, battling sweet, tired sleep, which could pull me into hypothermia. The core gets warm and you feel it's a luring sleep, but actually you're going to get colder and colder into hypothermia. Now, what was I doing there in that corner of the world, trying to stay alive? We had sailed from Mumbai, crossed the Indian Ocean, crossed the Atlantic Ocean, and about 6 months earlier than the present Tasman storm, we were in Barbados, I think, at the home of a gracious Indian family that had very kindly invited us over for a meal, which was very welcome to these tired, ocean-beaten sailors. After the hot meal of home-cooked meal of dal chawal, which we were very grateful for, the children came up and asked, "Uncle, can we ask you 2 questions? How does it feel to conquer nature? And why are you doing this?" Like most of us who have had a tryst with mountains, oceans, jungles, canyons, with Mother Nature, would have probably answered, so did I, to these young minds. I said, maybe even aeons from now, puny humans may not be able to say that they have conquered nature. We have been all the time trying to understand nature, to flow with nature, to harness parts of it to our benefit, the fringe forces of nature, which we have been able to try to understand. Conquer nature. Any adventurer who harbors the wildest thought of conquering nature, I think he's making a grave mistake. In the lap of nature, where we were, in the fury of the storm, which can be fearful and awe-inspiring at the same time. We were reminded of our sailing guru Ron Gravels, who had taken us through our basic sailing, ocean sailing paces and taken us through the earlier storms with our storm drills and things like that. He would say, there will be a day when you will enjoy storms. We would scoff. We were going through 3, 4, 5 storms in the English Channel. They were bad enough. Salt water all into us, every pore of the body, eyes bleary red, no let up, no question of how many hours you've been at it or how many days you have to be at it. You have to make the boat live, and it doesn't matter how long you've been battling that storm out there. And we said, enjoy a storm? You've got to be kidding. But as we raised our thresholds from force 3, 4 on the Beaufort scale, 6, 8, 10, 11, and you periodically come across another storm, which is, let's say, another small tropical storm hits you, force 3, force 4, 6, or you are in force 11, and the wind starts abating, and the core of your heart, the spark in it, says, yes, the storm is abating. I have been through the eye of this storm. And that's when euphoria takes over. That's when you ride that storm. That's why when you become one with the nature. Your being doesn't matter. Your existence almost doesn't matter. It's a feeling very hard to describe. You're one with the power of nature. Such is the force of Mother Nature. That's only the force that we feel and see. It is abysmally large, which we probably can't really fathom. Why was I doing it? I can only fall back to the famous words of George Mallory, the mountaineer who is believed to have probably ascended the Everest almost 30 years before Tenzing and Edmund Hillary did. On his repeated attempts at the Everest, somebody asked him, George, why do you want to climb the Everest? And his famous answer, iconic answer now, was, because it's there. George and his mate were last seen heading for the summit of the Everest. Just a couple of 100 feet were left when the clouds blanked off the view, and they were never seen again. Their bodies found in, I think, 1999. There the Everest is, there the oceans are, beckoning you, asking you to cross them, challenging you. Anyone with the slightest challenge left in us would accept, would step out, raising our threshold bar by bar towards that lure, till you raise it and your abilities to a point where you can challenge, take up a challenge to sail round the world, or take up a challenge to ascend the Everest, because such is the human spirit. It will always challenge, endeavor, and achieve. It is the very nature of human spirit to endeavor ever higher bars and achieve. Much earlier, after our initial training in the English Channel, which also was tremendously cold, I remember I had started the project, planned the project right from 1978, 79 onwards. In one of the islands, probably it was Malta, after a severe Mediterranean storm, winter storm. Mediterranean is very nice in the summers, good waterfront life, but not in the winters. I remember no one had sailed around the world on one leg before me. I had to take the calling for myself. Can I do it or can I not do it? That was the big question everybody around me was asking. And I would answerable only to myself. Could I do it or could I not? After having started the project myself. I remember I swore to myself never to go near sea again in my life. What am I doing? I said when we take the boat back, after procuring the boat in England, we were sailing it back to Bombay to start our voyage around the world from Bombay. I said, when I reach back to Bombay, I will not go near the salt water again in my life. With my amputated limb, I can walk approximately the same pace as my two daughters can, and we can go walking, trekking a bit in the jungles and things like that, and enjoy as a family, enjoy nature. Why should I go near the salt water again? I swore to myself, never go near the salt water again. I came back with a boat, we brought it back to Mumbai. A month of introspection later, Asha and me were sitting by the Arabian Sea with the Trishna moored in Bombay. Both of us staring out blankly into the dark sea in the dark night. Quiet. Quiet can do a lot to you. And I said, Asha, I know I can do it because I have been through it. With my one leg, I can sail around the world. If I was to back off now, everybody would understand. There's no one with one leg to sail around the world. But as I get older, I will realize I could have done it. And I'll be a very sad old man, probably ranting in my old age. I should have sailed around the world. I could have sailed around the world. I don't want that to happen to me. I will not be able to take it. I will sail around the world. And that's what I did. Such is the human spirit. That's what you would have done. Sometimes I think my body was battered up and I was amputated above the knee. I had not foreseen this when I planned the voyage or made a plan for us to sail around the world way back in '79. I hadn't thought that I'll get amputated above the knee, but there I was. Could I sail with an above knee amputation around the world? The core of me thought I could, and I did. What if my body was beaten to a point of bashed or more broken, more bones broken, to a point where maybe it would not have been able to sail around the world, at least not much more difficult to sail around the world. What would I have done then? Would I still have stepped out to try to sail around the world? I sometimes think. And you know what? I would have. Because that is the nature of the human spirit. So would you. The other thing I had not planned on when I started planning to sail around the world. When I finished, I got a letter from Nobby Clark, squadron leader D.H. Clark, who was a Second World War British Air Force pilot who had flown with the legendary double amputee Douglas Bader, who had shot down more than 24 German aircraft, an ace pilot, who bailed out of his aircraft when his aircraft was shot and was burning, Douglas Bader. And he strapped off his leg because it was stuck in the burning fuselage. And he would have gone down with the aircraft with the leg stuck there if he hadn't an amputated limb that he could unstrap. And he said, thank God I'm amputated because I managed to save my life. So I got a letter from Nobby Clark, who was the official Guinness Book recorder for ocean games. And he said, AK, I think you're the first physically handicapped person to sail around the world. It was a world record. It is a world record. It felt good. But the oceans don't brook records. Nature does not brook records. Records can be rather base things when you're in nature, when you're in the lap of nature, or you're in the oceans. Trying to set a record with in nature can be, it can be a very, very base feeling. You go there because that's what you want to do. Of course, the ocean also had a lot of pleasant days. If you count days on days, probably far more days were peaceful sailing, and we had, let me not give the impression that we only had bad weather and storms and all the time. No, the ocean gives you fantastically peaceful and calm days. Nature bestows on you moments that are undescribably beautiful. Of course, there were a couple of lessons that I took away, several of them. I learnt to break down very heavy words. As a youngster, they would weigh on me as probably they would weigh on any young mind. Determination, courage, never say die, fire in your belly. That's, rather at times fearsome, challenging words. Do I have it in me? Am I a determined guy? Am I a courageous chap? Look at that guy. I learned to break down these words into piecemeal, small parts, easily digestible, easily chewable words. What did I find? I found that if you see someone who wants to do something just badly enough, and he will not relent, you're bound to look at him and say, that man is determined, that man has got courage, that man has got a fire in his belly, that man has a never say die approach. It's as simple as that. When you want to do something badly enough, no one can stop you. I also learnt that when you want to do something, how do you start? You simply start. There is no other way. You reach your threshold, raise your bar, try again, reach your threshold again, raise your bar, and you progress, bettering yourself each attempt till you reach a point from where you can take off for what you want to do. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much, and Jai Hind.